I'm looking for that, but I don't have confirmation, and I can't hold them. But
Wait, you don't have confirmation of what?
of the hotel that I booked.
Oh, well, you can get some signature from me, please. I'm in the choice of having a student hotel down the street in Acton, like a mile away from the entrance. Absolutely, you don't get that confirmation, I will send you my confirmation.
Okay, I'll do that. I'm on the way to this result. And then I booked another. Text. But now I told them I always like to call in that room.
Yeah,
And we get there.
yeah,
It's later and this said we don't have room, but
yeah.
he said it.
So there's two separate blocks. It's Tuesday, for Wednesday, is it Wednesday? No.
Yes, separate rate.
No, I thought I was gonna drive up,
Mhm.
like, first thing Wednesday morning, but it starts. So so.
Okay, well. Why can't you air this separate?
That night. But it's got to be seats. Yeah.
Well. Oh. Please, my water. I don't have a backup someplace, so
He has two back.
I have two backups. Because, I can't get a hold of the hotel. There is this, the ski hotel.
Yeah, the resort.
The resort area, but I have a backup that. Progress. So.
I can't. I got the lowest rate and it's not fun. So, but it's 115 a night, so, you know, it's $350 or something. I have turned that down. So if she needs to stay there, she can stay there. I told her she could claim that I was her assistant and that it's all paid for.
There you
Oh. At least I have some place to stay, one place for the other. Where are you staying?
go. I'm at the resort.
You're at the resort?
Yeah.
Where are you staying? Well,
So the resort is asking 200 something.
I got for 169.
Yeah, but you're a mile away in some cabin, farther away than the active sleep in. Because you're by the ski resorts.
No, she's got a Traverse City.
Yes,
The conference is there, right?
yes, but the conference building is more than a mile away from where you're going to. Because those are lodges meant for the ski resort, which is a meeting space. Trust me, it's a conference there.
Look at you. Look at you. All right, folks, we'll go ahead and call this study session to order at 6:32 p.m. If we can stand for the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And just as a reminder, you have cell phone on, you can make sure that it's either off or on silent. City clerk, may go and take roll call for us, please.
Councilmember Williams, Reed, Jackson, Lawler, Davis,
Present.
Brent,
Here.
and Mayor Snyder.
Here. So for our study session, we're just gonna go and discuss the items that we need to approve at the regular council session. So the first item will be to approve our MML membership renewal in your packet. That is starting on page 14 and then on 15. Do we have any questions for City Manager Snyder in regards to this item? Next is city manager's employment agreement. We will be coming up on her 3rd year anniversary in March, so we need to get this approved so that it can be accounted for in the budget that we have to approve. So in your packet, it's starting on page 18. I'm hoping you had a chance to review this. Are there any questions for either Attorney Harkness or City Manager Snyder?
There's so much to ask. Which cities or which areas did you compare in terms of, where the city manager falls as compared to like St. Joe and Longshore?
So we chose not to because she is already vastly in comparison to cities of our size. So we did a negotiated agreement where we went back and forth a couple of times on percentage increase based on our current salary. And get into a 3-year contract and making adjustments in other compensation packages. The rest of it remains largely untouched.
So based on the union contracts that we just passed and approved the 3 different contracts, this is in line with the second pay increase, so.
Just wanted verbiage, because someone is going to say, oh, But, you know, compared to everything else or everyone else, as well, and I did, look, I looked it up and it does compare.
Well, honestly, okay, so let's talk about that. The unions compared to what's in here, this is higher than what the unions is, right?
Just by 1%.
Well, we know 1%, we get a lot. Okay, so it's higher than what the unions is. Not to say that there's anything wrong with that, but it's higher. The other question. On average, cities of this size, the city managers typically make.
125 to 140, depending on, and again, it's tough to compare because our tax base is so much lower than most cities our size. It's tough to really get a, you know, a viable percentage or salary number that's in line. So.
Yeah.
And then also years of experience. Years of experience incorporates into that.
I just wanted to make sure she actually got an answer.
Well, I looked up, comparable in terms of 7,500, 400 people, St. John's, St. Joseph, Hudsonville, Ludington, Marshall, Paw Paw, River Rouge, and Luna Vista, and Brighton, and they were comparable. For instance, St. John's is 153.
And their population.
The population, I think, was 7,600.
And their coast, shoreline.
St. John's is Clinton,
Which one?
just north of English,
Okay, I got you. Outside of this.
north of this.
So if you go up 127.
But it was comparable, that was mine, and I wondered if that was the rationale or, you know, what rationale she, because when they asked, so you want to be consistent.
I agree, but I would not, I don't know, their wages, they're not comparable, because that's drastically higher than what's proposed in my current contract. So I would say it's not comparable,
Yeah, these are all higher.
that's.
Yeah, this one is, some of them.
Any other questions?
Okay, so, let's see, page 6.
Page 6.
Section 7, this page 6 of this page 24 of page 6 of the contract, section 7C. The 45-day, okay, so within the first 45 days of the commencement of this agreement, the mayor and council shall define such goals and performance. So basically doing, goal setting, timetable wise, is 45 days going to be enough to bring in someone so that we can do the goal setting, or was there consideration given to goal setting by the negotiating committee?
So it was my understanding that this is 45 days of the commencement of the agreement, we will do this. But that doesn't mean we start after the contract is signed. So this contract starts in March,
This March 15th of
Oh,
2020.
which means we've got 3 months before.
We got one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
just trying to put it together. So I
Yeah,
got
good question,
got it.
great question.
So March, yeah, I'll just put March on.
So there is that, you know, bringing up the date. On the page 1, it says 2023, we need to change that to 2024.
No, so we would approve it tonight, but it doesn't, it's on the last meeting we need.
Yeah, the page 1 is when it's entered into,
Okay,
but the effective date is on the last page,
okay.
Page 30. of
March
it.
15th, 2024.
Section 9. B. Paid time off and administrative time. Do we still do both? Do we do both? Paid and administrative?
So other non-union employees outside of myself, they get their pay time off, so their vacation time, but they also get administrative time. So I believe they get 40 hours of admin time for, they receive that because they would have to attend a lot of evening meetings and other things throughout the week, so they get that additional admin time in lieu of attending the meetings and other events, but I don't get the admin time, I just receive my vacation time and my sick accrual.
Okay, so. For the sake of the contract, we have to scratch that.
I mean, we can, it doesn't set it forth below, so it doesn't apply, so I mean, we can. Just say, pay time off.
So section 18. Medical expenses. Hey, this is already in the contract.
Usually things that change with like compensation and things like that. This was our, section 18 was on things we used.
Gosh, it was general expenses.
So. Things like office supplies or, Haley had to get something for, that she's required to use in the course of her job, like, computer, cell phone, things like that. Is what I would call general expenses, things that you're gonna need to use in the course of her employment.
You just pick it up, submit the receipt, get refunded.
Right, things like that,
Yeah.
unless it falls outside of like the authorized spending limit, in which case you have to come to the city council.
Okay. Being that we didn't have the previous contract, what's the current base salary?
115, 160. No.
What else?
Oh, sorry, 107, that's right, that's the one. No, right, I was giving you the 2026.
Alright.
Computer.
Okay.
That's 107, so
Yes.
It's 107, I think 107. We have 1,000 this is based on.
All right, it's 107, 16375. Next year will be 111, 450.30.
That's what the base.
The 2023 salary was 107, 163, and 75 cents.
Gotcha.
2024 will be 111, 450, and 30 cents.
Under the current contract, right?
If this contract is signed.
So outside of the salary, what else did we negotiate?
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, we did an increase in our allowance. Yeah, we raised that by $100.
from her previous contract, and then assign
Did we increase MERS?
increase from hers.
Increase MERS.
What's hers again?
Retirement.
What was it for?
Statutory stuff.
Yeah.
Lily, you have another question?
Yeah, give me a minute. Yeah, I imagine this is the biggest conversation we're gonna have today, right?
Well, we're in the study session. We have to talk about, we can talk about that for a second. On other days.
Okay, so I don't need to hold up the whole meeting, that's fine.
What was that?
I don't need to hold up the whole meeting, that's fine.
Yeah.
We can proceed.
Sounds good. Next will be the approval of the first ordinance 2023-06. To amend to kind of safeguard with block parties. Attorney Hartness, you want to give us information on this?
Sure, so, we came up with a draft of the block party ordinance based on. Some of the samples that we had in the conversation that we had with council. So, basically, a block party is gonna be defined as. Block party attendees on the street or right away within a single neighborhood not to exceed 2 blocks. With street barricades for a specific date. Block party attendees are gonna be defined as an organized group of residents who live in or directly adjacent to a specified area of the neighborhood. The applicant is gonna be a designated resident within the specified block party area. And it's gonna be held responsible for the activities that occur during the block party. We require a permit for the block party. They have to submit an application at least 30 days prior to the proposed date, along with the required fee. The reason for that is obviously, there needs to be enough time to make sure that the applicant isn't in default. They need to be able to run the plan past public safety if they're talking about closing off streets. And this way, council has a chance to look at it so that it's not, dropped on your laps the night before a meeting, like, oh, hey, we're gonna approve this big party that we knew nothing about until today. Council will set the fee for a block party by resolution, you just add that to your annual fee schedule. And then obviously we put in here that if you're in default to the city, you can't get a permit. Application has to have the date, description, with a diagram, name, address, a phone number, of the person who's organizing it. At least 51% of the property owners on the streets that are gonna be closed have to sign off on it. A copy of the homeowner's insurance policy or general liability policy for the block party. The application fee, we have a block party agreement that will develop, before this takes effect. And a signed attestation, which is just a sworn statement that alcohol is not gonna be sold at the block party without a license issued by the Michigan Liquor Control Commission. And if they do get one from the Liquor Control Commission, they have to provide us with a copy. It gets reviewed by public safety, public services, finance, and then it gets submitted to council for review and potential approval. If any one of the departments doesn't sign off on it, the application doesn't go to council and they get a denial letter stating the reasons. If there's gonna be street barricades, they have to be requested. In terms of access to streets, because I know this was an issue in the past, only local streets can be closed for block party. Obviously, we can't close state roads or county roads, things like that. Street access may not be blocked by motor vehicles, tables, tents, trash receptacles, only street barricades. street access must be available for, emergency equipment, so fire or medical or police need to get back there. It has to be accessible. Non-participating residents have to be allowed to access their property at all times, so they can't stop homeowners who happen to live in the block party area from going home, driving their car into their driveway. There's the party can't start any earlier than 9 the day of the event, and no later than 11 p.m. the day of the event. We capped the number of attendees at 100. All block parties still have to comply with all local laws, including noise violations, disturbing the peace, things like that. If during the event, it's determined that there's a violation of any one of this ordinance or one of the other ordinances I just mentioned, the public safety chief has the authority to revoke a block party permit if it's if it's for the purposes of protecting the health, safety, and welfare of the public. Anybody that doesn't obtain a permit and has a block party, it is a misdemeanor. Anybody who violates any other section of the ordinance is a civil infraction. Happy to answer any questions.
Councilman Williams?
Yeah, okay, so let's start with 74 through 78, revocation. Would the chief or public safety have to provide, a statement as to why they were, or why they had shut down that party or didn't allow the party to take place?
Yeah, I mean, I would assume that, and I'll let Chief Kip speak to this. I mean, certainly I think it would be documented in an incident report that they would take. But, you know, I'll defer to the chief as to how he would communicate that to the organizers, but anytime that there's contact, there's gonna be a record of it. If they're violating one of our noise ordinances, disturbing the peace, or things like liquor being provided to minors and things like that, I'm assuming you would complete a report and then tell the individuals why they're terminating the permit.
Yeah, the option would have to have some reason for doing that at the time. Obviously, probably more likely due to size or other issues that they were having as a result of fights or things like that, possibly. But I mean, we've had lots of block parties since I've been here. We've closed down very few of them. So,
and the way we've got it worded is it has to be to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public. It can't be for an arbitrary reason, just, you know.
So you can't sell alcohol, but you can bring your own.
I love you.
you can get temporary liquor license. So.
Right. Okay, so 74, 79 penalties, A. A person who violates section 74 through 71 shall be guilty of a misdemeanor punishable by up to 90 days in jail. Being that we were defining the block party in this way, can you give me an example of something that may borderline what a person is being fined for? You know what I'm saying? Because I would imagine nobody would just set up and shut off the street. Now, that's me saying that, but you probably saying different.
Well, we had that event this summer where they advertised a block party online. And we told them they couldn't do it, and then all the people still showed up and they still technically had a party and we ended up having to shut it down. So that's a situation. Right, that's a situation where we could charge somebody.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I think that's why it's important to have some type of fines and results on this, because otherwise people will do it anyways without us getting approval, so.
Was that standard language, the 90 days in jail?
We have a separate ordinance that makes that the default penalty for any violation of the ordinance unless we set forth that it's something else. So yes, a violation of basically any other ordinance in the city is 90 days and $500 unless we make it something else. So the reason that
It's up to, it could be less, it's up to.
right, but for purposes of consistency,
Sure, yeah.
they're all 90, but very few exceptions if we have to bring in line with state law. But the reason that we chose that one is because not getting the permit is probably the issue that we would have, and so we made that the more severe penalty to kind of, you know, I mean, the idea of just making it a civil infraction, people are just gonna, the impression that I get is just kind of slough it off, it's like, oh, it's $100 fine, all right, whatever. But with a misdemeanor, it's a more serious thing, so the public will take it more seriously, like, hey, if I'm gonna do this, I need to go get a permit.
I get that, but I also get that there's some level of assumption there. And by assumption, I mean, we're assuming that people are aware that they're supposed to go through these processes and we're, I mean, that's not at any fault of us, because there are rules in place and that's not, being aware of it doesn't necessarily imply that there shouldn't be a rule there, that you shouldn't have to face the consequences of the rule.
Right.
But, do we have a way of doing maybe I hate for somebody to have to party and turn to do something a lot bigger, and now they're doing 90 days in jail.
Well, I can tell you, nobody's gonna do 90 days in jail. I mean, no one does jail time usually for misdemeanors like this, but they would have fines that go along with it. That's what would happen.
There's just the potential there, I mean, so assuming the council adopts the ordinance gets published so that it's available online. I'm sure in terms of adding permits, we could add it to the website at some point, and I'm sure we can put something on the website to say, now, there's a new block party ordinance and permit applications are available online.
So given the time, I know, I'm sorry, I need to wrap up this conversation so that we can still offer public comment. So we can definitely discuss more in our regular session. Is there anybody in the gallery that would like to stand and address council? At this time, could I also offer public comments before we go to the regular council? All right, you have seen none. We have a motion to adjourn. Support. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Meeting adjourned 6:57 PM. Please do not go far. We're back in 2 minutes.